Okay. The board has returned from executive session, at which time there were no votes or decisions made in executive session, and the matter that was brought to the board today will be brought up to the board for future action possibly. The board's taken that under advisement for now. Okay. Since there aren't any other people that want to address the board today, we can move to our administrative section. We have a motion on that, please. Dr. Martin has moved.
I second.
Mr. Wilson has seconded. To go into the administrative section. Ms. Lucas.
Okay. Item A, to declare the following items as surplus property to be auctioned on June 25th, 2012 at 10 a.m. at the County Maintenance Warehouse according to the provisions of West Virginia Code 18-5-7. There is an attachment with the items listed.
Ms. Lucas, one of those items states classroom building at Hart's Primary. Now, is this the main building or one of those small outside buildings?
It's a small outside building.
Okay, it's the other one, not the one we're moving to West Hamlin, correct?
Correct.
Okay, so that's not the main building?
No.
Okay, all right, thank you.
You're welcome.
Clarify that one.
Item B, to approve a contract with the Big Sandy Arena in Huntington for June the 1st, 2013, graduation ceremony for Lincoln County High School at a total cost of $5,000 according to the provisions of the contract. The contract will be forthcoming. The cost of this contract will be shared by the Board of Education and Lincoln County High School.
Any discussion of that issue?
Do we need to determine the cost sharing so that Mr. Sachs can work on his budget for next year?
Do we need to approve the terms of the contract on how much we will pay and how much?
I don't, well, if you all are willing to pay some money, then I would imagine you would have to, yes. But I don't think that we need to come up with what you all are willing to pay and what you're not, actually, until the date of graduation. I think that all we have to do is we just sign a contract, and for Big Sandy, they do not require a down payment of any form, but they do require payment within, I think it's 15 days of the actual date of usage of the building.
And Ryan, when I spoke to Miss Mandy about this, and she indicated to me that we can cover this through the county's student activities funds and not take that out of your pot.
Oh, I was not aware of that. I did indicate to the board the last board meeting that semi-student activity monies have been increased, which is be where I would have taken that money, but
Well, the motion.
if you want to go ahead and approve it, then that's great.
Well, the reason that I think Donna said what you did, the contract, or this motion states this contract will be shared by the Lincoln County Board of Education and the high school. And she was trying to, really determine what percentage of each one. Now, from what Mr. Midkiff said, apparently the treasurer's recommending that the board assume the total cost. So if that's the direction we're going to have to modify the motion. And then remember that you've got all this extra money you can spend on other things.
Yes, sir. Yes,
We're gonna
sir.
have groups
Well, no,
coming to you.
that's fine. I think one of the things that I need to do a better job of is communicate to my groups that they need to come to me prior to coming to the board. There was times that I would find out after the fact that they had come to the board asking for money, and I would ask the instructor or whoever was coming to you all, why didn't you come to me first? Because but they never had. And then the same thing applies when they would go to the county commission. They would go to the county commission asking for money, and I was not aware that there was even a need at that time. So I need to do a better job of probably communicating that I'm the first step before, in that process.
I think that would be great, Mr. Sachs, because sometimes it puts us in a precarious situation. We have a budget, we try to adhere to as much as we can. And if you would communicate that, maybe we can, along with the additional funding that we provided for next year, that we'll be able to alleviate some of that. But if at the board, I think what we'll have to do all is modify this motion to state that at the end that the cost of this contract will be paid by the Lincoln County Board of Education.
I'd like to propose motion.
Okay, Dr. Martin,
And I'll second.
and Ms. Smith second that we modify the motion to read that last part that the cost of this contract will be paid in its entirety by the Lincoln County Board of Education. All in favor of that motion?
Aye.
It's an all yes vote. Okay, Chris.
And so I guess what we'll need to do then is you'll need to see if we can get a June 1st approved then. Is that correct?
Yes, that's what the motion states, Mr. Sykes. May I ask a related question while you're on? Now, realizing that there's some competition for these dates and in the months ahead of time, are you going to begin to look at the following year? At what point would you begin to do that?
I hadn't really given it much thought, but I can, if that's the
Well-
direction you'd like me to go ahead and try to do. I can go ahead and see if we can't reserve something, because I know we had discussed the possibility of alternating locations. You know, I could go ahead and try to see what I could do for Charleston.
For 14. I mean, do you all agree with that we need to, it seems to be such competition that if we wait,
Well, I will-
sometimes we might not get the most desirable time we want.
That is correct. I would also say that in my discussions with both entities, I feel like that they wanted to, I know there was, especially with Charleston, when I was asking for dates, before he would even talk to me about certain dates, he wanted to make sure that, he wanted to talk to Putnam County, because I think Putnam County traditionally always goes to Charleston, and they had not contacted him on their graduation dates for 2013. And so I think they give first refusal to whoever's had those dates or that, in that time frame before. And so that, I'm not sure how much flexibility we will still have between the two locations, but I will definitely explore that, and I will provide a report back to the board as to what the options would be for 2014 for Charleston.
One thing I think we need to consider also in Charleston, we have two possibilities.
Yes.
Municipal auditorium, it seats 3,400 people.
Which I think was completely sufficient.
And I think we'll, as I was going to say, maybe next year we'll get a feel for how many people are willing to travel when we come that direction, but that might be an option to where they wouldn't be obligated or necessarily give preference to another county.
Right.
But we'll leave that up to you. I was just thinking, we need to always be looking 1 year ahead, I believe.
Yes, sir.
All right. Ms. Lucas. Nothing else, I hadn't turned the page yet. Okay. All right. Those are the only items. If no one has any other discussion on either one of those, we've got a motion and a second. All those in favor of the motion, aye, please. Aye. All yes vote, thank you. Okay, finance. Yes, Lynn, Trish.
She is not here. Cindy is not here.
All right. Any members of the board have any questions or concerns with the finance section?
I have a concern, been bothering me for quite some time. If you look at the items to be paid.
Can I'm sorry, I neglected to get a motion and a second to start this.
I move.
Dr. Martin moves,
I second.
Ms. Smith seconds. Okay, I'm sorry.
All right.
I'm catching on here.
If we look at, let's say the first page, this first page, maybe second one.
First full page.
First full page, thank you. When we look at the items to be paid, we always have the check number, the vendor number, and the name, and the amount, and then we go over to the description. I'm wondering why we can't have a little bit more defined description of the items being paid. Some of them are obvious, like Appalachian Power, we know it's for power, okay? But, for instance, item 42-245, Radford and Radford. The description just simply follows by saying Radford and Radford. I'm wondering why we can't have a little bit more detailed description of the item to be paid. Is there some reason why we can't do this?
I truly can't answer that as far far as Bertie's concerned, I know she brings all of the bills with her normally. Isn't that correct, to answer? But she may be able to put the descriptions there easily enough.
Well, I'm thinking, we could ask prior to a board meeting, or we could ask during the board meeting. But this would eliminate the need to do that. I could look there, and the other board members could look and see. I assume Radford and Radford is a,
Contract.
okay. And if it were to give just a brief description of the item to be paid, then it will probably eliminate most all of the questions that a board member would have. Without
I
having to ask.
agree with Mr. Wilkerson that it'd be very helpful, since I have trouble trying to remember who those vendors are too. I think it'd be expedient to try to put a brief description if that's possible.
We can certainly do that.
Well, I understand certainly what Mr. Wilkerson's saying too. Just to replicate the same thing under name and description doesn't tell you anything.
It doesn't tell you anything.
And I know in the past, oftentimes there have been questions about a particular item, and the only problem I've ever felt about that is, we're always asking the question after we've approved we've approved the finance agreement, the board meeting's over, then we're meeting with the treasurer and asking her a question. And I always, what if, after you asked that question, you didn't like what you heard, you didn't think it was an appropriate expenditure. So maybe, Ms. Lucas, if you could talk to Ms. Candy about that, if they could provide a description of some kind, and that might eliminate, like Larry says, a lot of the questions we have. Otherwise, it appears that the only other solution would be that we just, give to finance, we come to a specific thing like Radford and Radford you mentioned there, and at that point, we ask for an explanation of what that is, and not vote until all those have been resolved. Yeah. But now, Radford and Radford, you said that wasn't a contractor?
That's our contractor that built
It's a general
the general contractor that built the parts of
Parts of
school.
school.
Yes.
Okay.
That one I knew. Just so happened.
So we could have had something there.
That I would not have known.
We could have had something there in 3 or 4 words that would have described it.
Ours PKA.
Yeah.
General contractor.
General contractor.
That would have been great. But I think that's a worthy question or suggestion
Right.
that Mr. Wilkerson's made there. If you'd inquire about that, appreciate it.
I will certainly do that.
Any other questions for Carol, Larry, Donna, have on the
I have
finance?
none.
You're sure?
I'll do that.
Okay. Well, that being the case, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor of approving the finance section, indicate by saying aye, please.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, all yes on that. Okay, we get to personnel. We need a motion to look at the personnel section.
I'll say,
Ms. Smith, Ms. Wilkerson, and we'll turn it over to Ms. Lucas.
Okay, item A, employment of short, long-term substitute professional personnel for next school year. Item B is employment of professional personnel for next school year. Item C, transfer of professional personnel for next school year. Employment of service personnel for next school year. Transfer of service personnel for next school year, with the exception of E6, and that is beginning July 1 of this year. Item F, employment of extracurricular personnel, mostly for next school year, but a couple for the summer session. And then item G, retirement and/or resignation. We have one person that has retired, and then we had to rescind the employment of a summer cook due to, we had someone that had the position last year, and it is if they had it last year, and that was an oversight. We abolished our food service director's position when Diane Miller left, and we contracted Teresa for that service. and we will be abolishing the extracurricular service posting for the mechanics assistant. It was the 4-week job posting. So we are no longer seeking to fill that for this summer. Any questions?
Trish, up here on C, on the transfer of professional personnel,
Uh-huh.
I see that we have Mr. Hoover, and I had questioned Brenda about this earlier, whether this was a grant money that was going away, or whether he simply wanted to move, and I understood that he simply wants to move back to another position, but that grant position is still there.
The grant money is there. Of course, we never know exactly how much money that's going to be until we get the final amount. We don't have the final amount for that grant yet.
Okay.
That's part of Title I.
Okay, and then we have Mr. Schroeder, transferring back to the middle school from the high school, and that's going to leave us short again, isn't it?
Yes, yes it is.
It's been really difficult to keep math teachers, hasn't it?
Yes, it has. Yes, it has.
That's all I have.
Okay. Any other questions?
Okay, if there are no further questions, then we'd ask for a vote on the personnel section. All those in favor of the personnel items, signify by saying aye, please. It's an all yes vote on personnel. Nice to see Mr. Smith out bright and early this morning.
Maybe early, I don't know about Friday.
Good to have you. Okay, Ms. Lucas, do you have any comments or other items?
We do want to talk, yes, we want to bring you all up to date. Mr. Midkiff and I had the pleasure of attending an award ceremony yesterday in Bridgeport regarding the food service program in West Virginia. Of course, you all know that we were part of the Universal Breakfast Lunch, and it was such a positive program for us this year, and we were certainly recognized yesterday for all of the wonderful things that occurred within our schools in our county. Donna, we're actually handing out plaques here, you can't see.
They're really pretty too.
That most of the counties were represented yesterday. Dr. Markle was there, did the presentation, as well as Rick Goff, the executive director over this food service program at the State Department. The first one, Lincoln County did get an award for the Playbook Challenge. The Playbook was the Universal Pre-K, or no, Universal Breakfast Lunch program. Guyan Valley Middle School got an award for the largest consistent breakfast participation throughout the year for a Universal Free Meals pilot for middle school. Guyan Valley also was awarded for the largest increase in breakfast participation from last year to this year for a Universal Free Meals pilot for middle school. Hamlin Pre-K 8 got an award for the largest consistent breakfast participation throughout the year in a Universal Free Meals Pre-K through 8 school. And then Ranger Elementary got an award for the largest consistent breakfast participation throughout the year in a Universal Free Meals pilot elementary school. And then we got a sash, and it was recognizing Hamlin Pre-K 8 for being, for their program of the little wagons of how they distributed the meals in the morning, in combination with, some of the classes coming to the cafeteria. But overall, Lincoln County walked away with many more awards than anyone else. So we were so pleased and proud that we had taken this challenge and did what we could for our students in Lincoln County, making sure that they all, would be able to eat regardless of income status. And I think we will be having a webinar Friday regarding the program for next year. And of course, it's going to be called Community Eligibility Option, CEO. And we want to participate in that as well and continue this program. It has been a success for us, and I just think we're doing the right thing for our students here in the county, and we're pleased to be able to do that. But it was quite an honor to be able to receive all of those yesterday.
Donna, do you have any comments?
I just wondered what you had for lunch.
Chicken.
What do you think we had?
We grilled chicken.
Chicken 57.
That's fantastic. Fantastic.
I think when you see the plaques, or that's what they are, you'll really be impressed. They're really nice.
Oh, boy, good.
And as usual, we're really proud of our food service program and the great job they do in East Longstreet. All right, have you decided, will these go to the schools, or will they be displayed in the boardroom?
Well, that's a good question. I hadn't really got that far, but I do know that we want to have some kind of celebration for the cooks. Because this, without them, cooking from scratch, of course, was a big part of this. This was the challenge of being able to offer our students the most nutritious meals that we can, and then working through cooking from scratch, was, we've been doing that a little bit along the past few years, but this year was in its entirety. But having some kind of recognition for them, in their work is something, and then we'll, I guess, decide where we will display these plaques. I think Mr. Midkiff's going to wear the sash.
Well, I think
around.
they're all good. I think that would be a good idea. Well, maybe it's from discretion. We'll decide what you may want them to come to the board meeting and be recognized. We certainly appreciate them coming if they would. And then you all can decide, and they can, if they want to display them at their schools or, our walls are a little bare, we can always use a little decoration.
We can have our own wall of fame here,
That's great. Great news.
I think that was, let's see, as far as bringing.
Maybe the press will want to come up after the meeting and get a shot of this.
Sure.
I can't wait. Anything else, Trish?
No.
Any members of the board have anything else? Yes, Dr. Martin.
No, sir, I do not.
All right, then I think that'll pretty well conclude things. One thing I'd like to ask, maybe, since we have had the issue of the ROTC come up today, and that seems to be something that needs to be resolved one way or the other here relatively soon, and maybe we could have that as an item of discussion on our next board meeting. And we'll let Mr. Curry go from there.
Maybe we need to have it as an item of vote, because he needs to know by the end of the month.
Well, that was the only thing and that'd be fine too, whether or not, now, we have a meeting on the 19th, and we have one more meeting in June. Either way would be fine with me. I just think we need to advise them that we're going to discuss it again, so that they might want to come back, and also, so you can have Ms. Gandy be available for any
Yeah, I think
questions.
it would have been good.
Yeah,
It should be here.
we need to hear both of them, so we could, but if we could put it on there as an action item, and then if we weren't ready to do it, we could do it the next time. But anyway, if we obviously can't deal with it if it's not on there, so we'll go with Ms. Smith's suggestion that we put it as both a discussion and an action item, and then our discretion will decide if we want to act that night.
And
I'd like to see it next time.
Okay.
Without going.
because we didn't, when they requested to come, we didn't
those gentlemen won't be available if we do it next time. Because that's the
That
reason
was,
for having it.
yes, that was right. Yeah,
They
they're
won't
going
be
to
here on the
be in,
19th.
they'll be in one of
That's
their,
where they're at with their students.
Uh-huh.
Will we need to actually hear from them again? I mean, you know, if they're not here, we can still.
That's true, you've already heard their.
uh-huh. I think that's why we asked them to go ahead and come today, is because they couldn't be here on the 19th.
Well, that'll be something, we'll just have to decide. We feel like after hearing Ms. Gandy, that we've heard both sides and we feel comfortable that we can go ahead and act, we will. If we feel like something comes up that we need to clarify, we may have to wait till we get back. We'll decide that next time, but if you all can just have it on the agenda like Carol suggested. Okay, if we have no further business before the board, I'd ask for a motion to adjourn, please.
I move.
Dr. Martin, yes, Ed? All those in favor, yes?
Yes.
Yes.
All but.